you want to hear some music? You'd like that, wouldn't you? Well, today you're going to get all the music you want.
The request lines are now open. KGFJ Soul Radio.
Do it now, man.
Request lines are up.
It's open, man.
Got any Blue Oyster Cult?
No, I don't have any Blue Oyster Cult. I ate 34 pairs last time around. Where were you? I was that close to working at 7-Eleven, you know.
Pass the word along. Tell the men it's time to shoot the moon.
Shoot the moon!
Not out there on the microphone. On the microphone.
Shoot the moon. Shoot the moon.
The attitude dictates that you don't care whether she comes, stays, lays, or prays. I mean, whatever happens, your toes are still tapping.
Hey, Strawberry! Oh, Strawberry. Hey, what's happening, man? How you doing? This is my friend.
Hey, how you doing, man?
What you looking at, man?
Oh, nothing. I wasn't looking. I wasn't looking at his neck, man.
Can you honestly tell me that you forgot the magnetism of Robin Zander or the charisma of Rick Nielsen?
That's kid stuff.
Kid stuff. Well, how about the tunes? I want you to want me. The Dream Police. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Build your muscles picking strawberries. You know, Band and Scoop. Maybe I could get you a job with United Fruit. I got a buddy with United Fruit. Start with strawberries, you might work your way up to these goddamn bananas. When, boy, are you gonna get your act together?
We're creating a society of cell phone crazed, marijuana smoking zombies.
Coming to you not quite live from Lukewarm Tallboy Studios deep in the land of Gar, this is Bend and Scoop, the podcast featuring music, mirth, and minutia, focused on exposing artists you probably haven't heard, but should. I'm Bob, and I'll be your tour guide on this amazingly asymmetric auditory adventure as we journey to the center of your cochlea. Welcome to episode 35, which is also the number of miles the Proclaimers still have left to walk. Joining us at the end of the show for our Groovin' After Party will be our very special guest, Jim O'Laughlin from the You're Not Listening podcast, sharing his own personal musical journey with a round of Is That Your Vinyl Answer? We spread the gospel of vinyl here at Bend and Scoop, so be sure to tell us all about your favorite neighborhood record store by posting to @BendScoop on Twitter or Instagram using the hashtag SpinMomandPop. Our record store of the week is Dreamy Life Records in Fort Worth. You can follow them on Twitter at DreamyLifeRecs, on Instagram and Facebook at Dreamy Life Records, and you can check out their website at DreamyLifeRecords.com. Our special guest Jim tipped me off to this next band, the Amplifier Heads from Boston, and this fantastic track from 2020's Music for Abandoned Amusement Parks called Funhouse Mirrors on Bend and Scoop.
Arise, arise, today's the day, the carnival arrives. The carnival arrives. KFRDS, the voice of home.
That was Brooklyn's Leapling with You Let Me Know from their 2016 album Suspended Animation. On the next episode of Plausible Deniability, the podcast I co-host with my pal David Miller, we have an honest discussion about our ongoing struggles with weight. It will be available for you to hear on February 1st. You can follow Plausible Deniability on both Twitter and Instagram at PauseDeny. Let's set the Wayback Machine for 1981 and enjoy this tune by the Scottish band TV21, Snakes and Ladders, here on Bend and Scoop.
We're not happy and we're not sad. We're not crazy, but we must be mad. There's snakes at the bottom, snakes at the top, and the ladders all shake and the ladders all rock. We're not happy and we're not sad. We're not crazy, but we must be mad. There's snakes at the bottom, snakes at the top, and the ladders all shake and the ladders all rock. We're not happy and we're not sad. We're not crazy, but we must be mad. There's snakes at the bottom, snakes at the top, and the ladders all shake and the ladders all rock. And everywhere I look I see thousands other fools like me, all crouched down on bended knee, with their eyes shut tight but their hands are free. And everyone is fighting blind, scratching, biting, wasting time, up to the bottom and down to the top, where snakes and ladders never stop. And no one asks the question why. We exist by getting by, and we keep playing this crazy game where snakes and ladders are all the same. Stash, a thin white line of others' cash, but all he sees
You are charged with assault and battery, resisting arrest, and destruction of private property. How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse. You're gonna love it. Really, I think everyone here will.
I plead innocent.
You see, Your Honor, what you have here with Mr. Brewster and myself is a couple of, local heroes, really. We play for a local team here. You might have seen us, the Hackensack Bulls.
We went into the bar to have a drink, and we saw this nice lady, and we asked her to sit with us to have a drink. I didn't know she had a fiancé.
Who knew?
Did you know?
I didn't know.
No, I didn't know either.
It wasn't public knowledge.
So you were making advances to a woman who was clearly involved with another man.
You see, if you don't make calls, you don't make any sales.
One more Scottish band there, Glasgow's The Zips with Take Me Down from back in 1979. Another podcast I'm part of is called Campfire Songs, where I get together with my buddies Tom, Todd, and Jim to share and discuss a couple of songs each. Follow us on Twitter at SongsCampfire and give us a listen. Speaking of songs, remember to be sure and check out our Bend and Scoop playlist on Spotify. If we played it and they have it, you can listen to it there. Up next is a band of Belgian rockers called Teen Creeps, with this one off their brand new album, Forever, called Tourist, on Bend and Scoop.
the all-American heavyweight music machine.
On AFRTS, more music.
Funny how things often come to an end. Often they do before they begin, and I think it's the beginning of the end. Peter had a lover of a grand old dame, old enough to be his mother, and oh what a shame. After 3 martinis when nap time came, you stopped going down when the chef stopped coming around. I promise not to mention the offer tonight. If you don't say nothing about me losing my appetite. Peter was a hustler and he had a rockin' band. Too cool to get a job and you can never understand why there wasn't any money and nobody lent a hand. With the widow who he thought would understand, who would trade a little money for a younger man. But the real wore off like the damn springtime. You stopped going down when the chef stopped coming around. I promise not to mention the offer tonight. If you don't say nothing about it, losing my appetite. One night when the dame attacked, he jumped out of bed and ran faster than a cat. And now he's trading quarters at a laundromat. You stopped going down when the chef stopped coming around. I promise not to mention the awful food tonight. If you don't say enough about me losing my appetite. My appetite.
That was our second Brooklyn-based band of the episode, Plates of Cake, with Losing My Appetite from 2016's Becoming Double. Have you ever wanted to host a podcast? Well, all you have to do to join the mic hunt and host your very own episode of Assume the Juxtaposition is to send me your topic idea to lukewarmtallboy@gmail.com. You can follow Assume the Juxtaposition on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at AssumeTJPod. Don't forget, if you enjoy listening to what we do here on Bend and Scoop, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Here's some grimy garage greatness from 1985, courtesy of Chatham, England's The Mighty Caesars, with Little by Little on Bend and Scoop.
Little by little, I'm losing my love for you, girl. Slowly but surely, my love has faded away. You didn't heed the words I said to you, girl. Should come as no surprise, I'm finding somebody new. Doesn't take long for me to find somebody new, girl. It doesn't take long for me to replace you. We talked and talked until the day is turning black, girl. Should come a no surprise, I'm turning my back.
7 years old, my daddy caught me smoking a cigar. Locked me in the broom closet for 3 days and 3 nights with nothing but a box of cigars and a book of matches. No food, Brewster, no water, just those goddamn cigars. Wouldn't let me out until I finished every last one of them. Taught me one hell of a lesson. I'm going to do to you what my daddy did to me. I'm going to teach you to hate spending money. I'm going to make you so sick of spending money that the mere sight of it will make you want to throw up. You have 30 days in which to spend $30 million. If you can do it, you get $300 million.
There's got to be a catch.
Of course there's a catch. You have to spend the $30 million. But after 30 days, you're not allowed to own any assets. No houses, no cars, no jewelry. Nothing but the shirt on your back. You can have $1 million right now and forget the whole thing. Or you can go for the big one, Brewster. The $300 million. But if you fail, you don't get diddly.
Here you come again. This is the last time, Mom. I'm getting tired of this mess. Now you listen to what I got to tell you. Go on down. Go on down. You can't do that, girl, because I love you. Listen, you go out to the party every night. You stay out too late. You come home with another man, and then it's at the break of day. So go on back. Go on back. Go back. Now you can't do that, girl, because I love you. I'm gonna tell you again, honey. Just go on back. Go on back to your party. Go on back. Go back. Now you can't do that, woman, because I love you. Now listen, now when I left, you said sweet thing, trying to get me back. Yes, you did. You said I need your love. And Willie Mason, that is that. Go back. Go on back. Go back. You can't do that, oh mama, cause I love you. Now listen to me. Now girl, I'm getting tired of you coming here at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning with your hair all messed up and your lips all messed up, your clothes hanging all off your shoulders. Now let me tell you something, you can come here one more time like this, but I'm gonna give you a warning right now, and if you smart, you better heed it. Listen, go on back. Just go on back. Now you can't do that, oh girl, cause I love you. Now go on back. Go on back to your party, honey. I don't even need you here no more. The last time I packed my stuff and I went home. Cause see, this time you gonna pack your stuff and you can go home. Just go on back to Georgia, wherever you live, and go on back to your mama and see if she'll put up with that stuff. Cause I ain't gotta take it. I ain't gonna take it. Now you listen to what I'm telling you right now, honey. Go on back. Go on back.
Baltimore's Willie Mason with the Freddie Martin Review from 1972 telling us to go on back. The very first podcast I was ever a part of is still going strong today, called How Many, where my buddies Jesse, Jr., Gary, and Scott discuss and debate a variety of pop culture topics, including movies, sports, TV, music, and more. You can follow How Many on Twitter at How Many Podcast and listen at howmanypodcast.com. Don't forget to stick around for the end of the show, when we'll be joined in the Groovin' After Party by our special guest, Jim O'Laughlin from the You're Not Listening podcast. Toronto is home to this next great band, Kiwi Jr., with the title track from their new album, Cooler Returns, here on Bend and Scoop.
Should there be some noise there? Yeah. Super Bowl Sunday 2020. I did not feel well leaving the hotel. Said a long goodbye to a decisions, cooler return shows, new revisions, 2 minutes to close. I don't wanna task you out, but can you break this fight for the jukebox Jody? They've got big ideas about police and things and graduate degrees, and I'm just trying to visualize some laundry on the line. Get carried away in the wake of the naked view. Now I'm stuck north by northeast, learning object permanence again. I am not American, but I feel the beat sometimes when I run into the screen door at the retreat, trying to learn the new lines backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards through the old racket club archway. Anyone again? I was never one for trying to win as a team.
Spend $6 million. They want to make sure they get their money's worth. Colonel Steve Austin doesn't let them down.
Well, if I didn't know better, I would think of Bionic Pancakes are here.
He's the $6 million man. Better, faster, stronger than any man on earth. He's the $6 million man.
I don't have
really love the sound of that one from 1982, Quiet Type by Sheffield, England's Time in Motion. Congrats to whoever won that $1 billion lottery earlier this week. That's gotta be one of the biggest scores since Brewsters Millions.
Money. Everyone wants it. Until now, Monty Brewster didn't have it.
They tell me you're my only living relative.
But he just made money the old-fashioned way.
You have 30 days in which to spend $30 million.
He inherited it.
If you can do it, you get $300 million. But if you fail, you don't get diddly.
Why can't I tell my friends?
Because I don't want anybody to help me out.
What's wrong? Spike, what's wrong? $30 million. The manager's got $30 million given to him. This is a good day, you know.
He can't keep it unless he can spend it and have nothing left but the shirt on his back.
Well, we're going to have a lot of fun with this kind of money.
Jake, I'd like to hire you as my official photographer. Salary $10,000 a week. How would you like to be my personal driver for the next 30 days at $5,000 a week?
What a country. America, love it.
Hey, everybody, anybody want to go to lunch?
Everyone thinks he's crazy.
I want to bet $50,000. It went up. We'll sell it.
I think we should consider the possibility of psychiatric help.
At the rate you're going, you'll have spent your entire inheritance in less than a month, and you'll have nothing to show for it.
But $300 million says he's right on the money. Richard Pryor and John Candy.
It's like that old saying, you know, if push for money, I'd be a millionaire. I'm a millionaire.
Brewsters Millions. Coming soon from Universal Pictures.
People listen to people. So listen, people.
Welcome to the Groovin' After Party. Come on in and pour yourself a cold one.
Joining me now for our Groovin' After Party here on Bend and Scoop is Jim O'Laughlin from the You're Not Listening podcast. Welcome, Jim.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me, Bob.
Tell us a little bit about You're Not Listening. You know, we've had your son Sean on before, but for those who may not have heard that episode, tell us about the podcast.
Well, my son approached me one day with this idea. Say, hey, Dad, let's go do a broadcast, this thing called a podcast, and we want to talk about music and just tape it and put it out there for people to listen to. And like every skeptic, I'm thinking like, oh, what? Who wants to listen to us talk about this? But basically, what we do is, and I don't know if you didn't listen to Sean's segment, we pretty much have the same kind of conversations that he and I were having for years and years and years. You know, we're traveling in the car, going places. There's always music playing. There's always, you know, us kind of discussing songs that we like and what reasons, and kind of a deep dive into why and some of the. He's the musical guy. I'm the music guy. So as a DJ, I know it from that end of things. He's more of a pure musician. So we kind of came from different perspectives and have these conversations. So what we do, it's You're Not Listening musical podcast, and it's you're-not-listening.com. I should know all these things. He's going to kill me for not having the correct promo stuff. But it's on all the places that you would listen to podcasts, and it's basically we both bring a song to the table, and we discuss it and reasons why we like it, why we think it should be on people's playlists, and songs that maybe people have forgotten or something that they may not know. So it's kind of up in the same alley as yours with some independent stuff that people might want to discover, or songs. Sean always likes to bring a song to the table that is sometimes thought of as a cheesy song or something that people would kind of pass over or not really like as much, and breaks it down of like, here's why it was so popular in the first place, and here's why you may want to give it a second discussion and stuff. So we, you know, luckily we don't argue too much. I mean, we've had a couple where it's like, yeah, Sean, I just don't like that song, and he'll say to me like, yeah, Dad, nice try. No, not happening, you know. But it's a back and forth thing, and we do it. We're past a year now, so I think we've got 25 or 30 episodes in the tank. We try to do it every couple of weeks, which doesn't happen because of life and COVID and everything else, but we're trying to be consistent with it and trying to make sure we put it on a regular basis. So it's been a ball, and such an honor that to have your young son ask the old guy to do that kind of stuff, and we have some really fun discussions because of it. It's fun. In fact, we should have you on to come on, and you'll have to pick a song and do it on our end of things too, and kind of, you know, share it with our listeners as well. So we'd love to have you come and join us.
Oh, I'd absolutely love that. I would, really. And
it's fun.
The thing I love about your podcast is, you know, you're one of two podcasts that I've had guests from that's a father-son music thing. Now, the other one I had, the father was maybe just a tad older than Sean, and he had like a teenage son. So it was a younger version kind of, but they're, you know, going through albums and artists and things like that. And music really is kind of a father-son thing. I mean, I personally did not have the greatest relationship with my dad, but the one thing we did really bond over, and where I really learned and appreciated my love of music, was from what he would listen to in the car when I was a kid, you know, and went to the record store with him. So it's great. And my sons, one of them in particular, I think he doesn't necessarily listen to a lot of the same music I do, but periodically something will come on in the car, and even though he has his earbuds in, he'll ask, "Hey, Dad, what is that?" Or he'll Shazam it, and he'll say, "Hey, is this such and such?" And he'll add it to his playlist. So
yeah, there you go.
I'll take that as
well. You know what? That's typical of what we try to do. So we'd love to have you and your son on, because those are the same exact kind of conversations we have. Hey, Dad, have you heard this? You know, I think you might like this, or, you know, Dad, I don't know why you listen to this, because this is, you know, the one I have is better, and let's talk about it, kind of thing. So yeah, very, very similar. Very similar.
Yeah. He's quite the introvert, so I'll make a pass at it, but it may be a long shot getting him to join us. But
all right, well, get his opinions and all, and have him in the background, and maybe he'll kind of jump in and stuff. So
yeah, I mean,
I get that.
That's perfect too. I can always, you know, whatever song I bring to the table, I can play it for him and get his opinion for sure.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a really fun format that we end up doing, and we did the same thing where a lot of times it was songs in the car, or if we're going on a long trip, whatever, you know, just whatever music or CDs or cassettes or whatever we were playing. But I was always kind of famous for being that crazy dad where every trip we had, you know, it was going to be a long, especially a family vacation trip. Like, you have to make, you know, you have to burn the cassette, you have to burn the CD, you have to have the playlist and stuff, and get in the car in the garage. Okay, before anybody falls asleep for this like 16-hour ride down to the beach in Rehoboth in Delaware where we're going or whatever, like, you got to listen to the songs. They're like, "Oh, Dad, I can't believe it." Always started out with Vacation by Connie Francis. Vacation. Second song is Holiday Road, and then we go into specific songs that I spent days and days like planning and putting these things together. My wife's like, "Aren't you going to come out and help us pack?" Yeah, no, I have to put another couple songs together. So we would have those discussions around that kind of stuff too. So I'm sure I drove him crazy, but it was good that we had some similar interests and also to learn from each other as well. So it was good. It was fun. Now, how do you end up getting yours started, and what kind of brought you to the table to do yours, which is really interesting, by the way. I really like your episodes. You put a lot of time into your editing and your post-production stuff that you put out there, man.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. It was just something I thought, I've got a lot of friends. I'm 54, so I'm kind of old. And I've got...
If you're old, I'm dead. So stop.
Well, that. I mean, compared to Sean, right? I mean, people that normally listen to this kind of music. So,
right.
And I probably 20 years ago or so, roughly, I just ran out of stuff to listen to music-wise, and nothing that was on radio was of any interest to me at the time, and started a deep dive and got into, indie music. And of course, the more stuff that became available online, the wider the selection came. So for a while, I would, burn CDs and try to, give people some mixed CDs and stuff. But this seemed like a efficient way to kind of share, like, hey, here's some music you might not have heard, you might like. So I've always kind of wanted to play DJ, play radio. So.
I did that for a number of years, but it's one of the things what happened, unfortunately, is, and I've always been a music guy, is I kind of went the other way, that as much as I love music, I always loved finding new music. And when I ended up having to work, and there was a time that the DJ business it was pretty successful. Like it was sometimes Thursdays, but every Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sundays for years. Like, so it became work. It became an obligation. It helped pay the bills for kids in colleges and all that stuff. But I also lost my love for music. I didn't understand until after I left it, and I realized how much I really missed finding new stuff and finding, doing that deep dive and saying, oh, I didn't know about this band. And then, as you know, one band begets the next 10. And 3 hours later, it's like, oh, I was supposed to go do those chores, but I've been listening to this great music. Which I hadn't done for like 30 years because I was either so focused on a few of the bands that I loved and I was following, or I was collecting. But then on the weekends I was working, and a lot of weddings and a lot of old time rock and roll and celebration, and nothing against Kool and the Gang and Bob Seger and stuff. But if I never hear those songs again, thank you very much. But the people wanted it, so you do that, And then all of a sudden, when you get home, you're not really going to put the headphones on and listen to your own music because you've been playing it for 6 hours for other people, and just kind of perpetuates that way. So I kind of lost my mojo on my inner love for music because it became a job rather than a passion. So I'm kind of glad that I got it back. And then Sean helped me with this podcast too, which is so cool. So I'm right there with you.
Let's learn a little bit more about your own personal musical journey, Jim, and play around of what I like to call, is that your vinyl answer?
I love that. That's fun.
We'll start things off and ask you, what was the first record you bought with your own money?
I did my homework because I listened, and I'm prepared for this. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Do you want 45 or do you want LP?
Let's do both. Well, you actually have them.
I have them both.
He's holding them up, folks. This is incredible.
I throw nothing away. And I always try to keep them in pretty good order. Now, as a DJ, I mean, these are old stuff from when I was 12 or 14 or whatever. I started to buy music on my own. So I wouldn't have played them when I was DJing. But when you're DJing, when I started out with vinyl, so you always have to make sure they're in pristine condition because you don't want them to skip and you don't want them to pop and everything. So I always try to make sure I take care of them. So my first was an album, The Esquires. Get On Up.
Get on up, get on up, get on up, get on up. You got to get on up. Set yourself down for a rest when you know that I'm trying my best.
They're from Virginia, mid-south, somewhere down, going down the coast. And Get On Up was the song that I love so much. And I remember going to the store, buying this. I think it was all of $1 or $2 or $3.99 or something like that. So, and I still have it, and it's still in the same sleeve and all that.
Wow. What year was that, Jim?
67. I was about 12, I think, is when I first bought it. You'll know it if you hear it. It's one that was, it wasn't a number one, but it was a fairly high chart. It charted fairly high. I think it was a little more of a soul thing. I always was kind of into that, which is my second one. It was too, which started my love of dance music, and I love to dance, and I was let's watch the Jackson 5 cartoons in the morning, and all that stuff it all got to me very, 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 very early.
Yeah, and that's probably my single favorite genre of music is soul from say mid 60s to late 70s, that
Nice.
era, like Stax. That's
Stax,
just
yep.
such my wheelhouse.
Yeah, there's some great documentaries on all that era too. That I've been just I've been going crazy, especially with the COVID, just downloading and watching that stuff all day. Stacks, some of the early stuff from Motown and the Memphis horns. I mean, just everything was good. Yeah, great. I'm right there with you. Right there.
Yeah, and I'm the same. I've been watching a lot of documentaries, but also in the past year or so, one of the things I've really taken to is reading a lot of musical autobiographies or authorized biographies, and one of the better ones I read was Booker T's.
Oh, okay, yeah, Booker T and the MGs, yeah.
There was a lot of stuff about him I didn't realize. It's a really good read. It's really good.
Right. Yeah, and Booker T and the MGs begets Steve Cropper, who's unbelievable, and some of the stuff that he's been doing that people just don't know.
Exactly,
him and Duck Dunn and stuff. Yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, so I was, a teenager when the Blues Brothers came out, and I loved the music.
There you go. Yeah.
They'll shout out to him on the record, Steve Cropper and Duck Dunn, and 13, 14-year-old me is like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh wow, they really were like ringers. I mean, they brought in the heavy hitters there,
Yeah. I think Steve Cropper is very connected and active on social media, and we're thinking about reaching out. And he seems like such a personal guy that who knows, he might be able to kind of join your show sometime. So he seems like such a down-to-earth, great guy. I mean, obviously so well known. Anybody knows anything about that genre of music, no, he is such a legend, but seems like a great guy.
Is incredible. I mean, he started out at Stax when he was a teenager and just kind of became not only the house guitarist, but he was like a producer. He was behind and he wrote a lot of the songs. He co-wrote Sitting on the Dock of the Bay.
Yep.
I mean, that guy just incredible. I was fortunate enough to go to the Stax Museum in Memphis a couple of years ago, and that place
that's on the bucket list. Oh, good for you.
Amazing. It's got Duck Dunn's pipe and Isaac Hayes' solid gold Cadillac. All that stuff was in there. It's great.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever are able to make it down that way, it's really worth it.
Well, once this whole thing breaks, we've got this let's go visit America kind of trip all set, and we're going to have all these places down the road. And that is certainly, oh, you want to go to Memphis? Sure, we'll go to Tupelo. We're going to go see Elvis, but we've got to go to Stax. We've got to go there. So yeah, that's definitely on the list without question.
Now, what's the 45 you have, Jim?
So the 45, which I have here, which a lot of people don't even know that 45 still exists, is from a band from Houston. So down in Texas.
Is it Archie Bell and the Drells?
And the Drells, yeah. Tighten Up.
Hello, everybody. I'm Archie Bell, and I'm also the Drells. We got a new song called Tighten Up, and this is the music you tighten up with.
Hey, what's the matter, you crazy kid? You're chasing away my business.
Buzz off, Giuseppe.
Oh, I love Tighten Up.
Backed up by the B-side, which was great, I Can't Stop Dancing. Which I think, I love Tighten Up. This was first and the album was second. That probably makes a little more sense. But that was one of my favorite songs, one of my earliest ones I remember. And the B-side, I think, is actually even a better song. They're both great, but.
Yeah, in Atlantic, I remember, I want to say it might have been early 90s or at some point, they came out with this massive box set, the Atlantic Rhythm and Blues, 47 to 74 or whatever, multi-disc. And that thing had everything on there.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the best box sets there ever was. And that you really, and I remember getting it and oh my God, I hadn't heard this in years. And I didn't realize they were on Atlantic, or I didn't realize who this was.
Yeah.
So much great music.
I think I might have that in the other room. I have a lot of box sets and stuff too. I think I might have. What color was the box?
It was a black box, and it had the same kind of insert like you have on the 45 there, the same label, but it was colored red and black. But that same Atlantic logo, and yeah. But it had Roberta Flack. It had Otis Redding, all the Stax, Aretha Franklin, but all the hits of all of the big artists, and it went all the way back to Professor Longhair and all that. It
nice.
Was incredible.
That had to be 6 or 7 discs.
Yeah. It was. I think it might have been even 8 or 9.
Yeah.
But,
right. Okay.
if I was to tell someone, give them, okay, I want you to learn about American music, that might be the very first thing I hand them is like, okay,
Yeah.
listen to
Here you go.
box set, and that's your primer.
Come see me in 2 weeks and let me know what you think. Here you go.
Yes.
There's your homework. Right. See, I remember that now. I don't know if it's because I have it in my vinyl collection, which I still have a lot of, or I worked at a couple of record stores in college and then afterwards, and just seeing, like, I remember music by visuals because seeing them, you know, just in the stores and in the bins, and also I know that that box set, and yeah. I'm probably I don't remember taking a paycheck home probably in the 10 or 12 years that I worked at everyone, you know, these stores part-time, but I have vinyl because of it. You know, that's the only reason why I have a good vinyl collection, because I took that. So I probably would have grabbed that one, I would imagine. So it might be in the other room. I have to check that. You got me thinking now.
Now, Jim, do you remember where you bought the 45 and album that you just discussed?
I do. Elmy's Department Store, ALMYS. It was, I don't know if it was the chain nationwide or whatever. It was just kind of local, but it was a medium-sized department store that we rode our bikes down. And I remember getting it. And the only other one I remember getting there shortly after that is I bought my sister, which I thought was the best birthday present ever, Get Off My Cloud by the Stones. Yeah, you know, maybe a little while. So those are the things I remember most about my first smell, taste of vinyl, you know, kind of thing. So,
and was that in New Hampshire?
Elmy's. Oh, in Methuen, Massachusetts, where I grew up.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we're converts. We're border jumpers. We live in New Hampshire now, but I'm originally from Massachusetts. That's why I've got my. How did you put it in the last one?
You're like the super intelligent version of Peter Griffin.
As long as you said the intelligence version, thank you very much. If you would have just said he sounds like Peter Griffin, I would have been a little insulted, but you know.
No. It's like he had a really, really smart brother, you know that. Now,
saying I have a little bit of a Boston accent. Okay, well, I'll buy that. So
yeah, but it's in a good way.
Park that car.
Yeah. Now, which band or artist's albums would you say you own the most?
It was a toss up between Beach Boys. I have a lot of picture discs, a lot of Buffett, a lot of Irish stuff. But hands down, it's got to be Springsteen. I was and still am a huge Springsteen collector, and also usually what I would do is always get the regular on the shelf stuff. But I was also big into bootlegs when they were all coming out. That you go to the record shows for on Sundays, and you pay a little more money, but you get a live show that you've never heard before. And also I have what I did with a lot of this the store bought stuff is I always bought two. So I have two 45s of every one of his 45s. I have two LPs for every one of the albums, or maybe if, like for Born to Run, I probably have 3 or 4 or 5. But because knowing someone down there when I might end up kind of selling or having it, whatever, wanted to give it to my son or my daughter, and so I have 2 copies of all. So when Sean was talking about coming in and kind of doing a little shopping in my vinyl collection, there are certain artists and genres that he's not allowed to kind of visit on that side of the room, kind of thing. So, but I would say Springsteen. They have a kind of a whole area selected with all that stuff, and all kinds of other memorabilia and autographs and all that kind of stuff too.
Jim, which Springsteen album is your favorite?
Okay, so which child is your favorite? Same kind of question. I don't know. I mean, I love the new one. I like what he's done with the different genres and with the different styles over the years. I mean, it's easy to say Born to Run just because you're supposed to, but I would probably say Wild, the Innocent, and E Street Shuffle.
Excellent.
And that was the first CD I bought, so I kind of have the emotional kind of connection to that too. But it just has some of the songs that I think just kind of grabbed me at first.
Yeah.
To kind of stop being a fan, and then I got into it more with Born to Run and with Darkness, and then The River, and it took off from there. That was a impressionable high school / college years.
And you make an excellent observation about entry point being huge, as far as what a lot of times the first album you hear by an artist, no matter where it is in their catalog, ends up being your favorite.
Yeah, isn't that something, huh?
It really is. Is there any particular album that you've purchased the most over the years, either replacing or just multiple formats?
Good question. I mean, I have multiple formats for a lot of my stuff because I ended up, kind of duplicating a lot of my vinyl on CD. One for DJing, but also one for my own personal preference. So as much as I have probably 2,000 or 3,000 pieces of vinyl, I probably have double that in CDs.
Any 8 tracks?
I still have about 208 tracks. It's crazy. We had no money growing up. My mom was a single mom. My dad died when I was real young. So we had no money. But one Christmas, she bought me a Radio Shack, realistic Radio Shack, 8-track recorder. You could go out and, you hook it up to your stereo and put whatever songs you wanted. And, it's got those three nasty clicks in the middle of like, into the next song. So I have a lot of my pre-made ones, and I have a lot of it, if you're in an antique store and you see a Springsteen 8-track, you kind of grab it so I have, those kind of things. I still have a lot of my originals and a couple hundred. The bad thing with those, I don't have as many cassettes and cassette singles, but the bad thing about the 8-tracks is they dry out and crack, so you can't use them as much. But up until, a couple of months ago, we're getting in the process of maybe trying to move and get a little closer to family and stuff, so everything's packed away. But I had my 8-track player literally where I sit right now, probably 5 feet from me, and put it in, and you hear those classics. You learn the songs, and in the middle of it, it's either fade to hear that nasty click.
Yes.
And that's where you remember. So if you hear it on the radio, it's like, where's the click? Oh yeah, I forgot it's not there.
The music that my dad would play in the car was always on 8-track. This is, early mid 70s. And I remember it well. There was always at least the one song that would fade down, click, then fade back up.
Yeah. And you remember it to this day, like when that happens, like, oh, this is where it's supposed to happen.
Yeah. And when I first started driving, the car my mom had that I would drive had an 8-track player in it. So I also ended up having an 8-track recorder, and I would go down and get the blank 8-tracks at Radio Shack and just mix 8-track. This is like 81, and I'm making mix 8-tracks.
Yes.
Behind the curve.
Well, and my goal somewhere down the road is I'd like to pick up like an antique car or something. I have an 8-track car player that I have. I don't have a car. I don't have any money to buy the car, but I have the 8-track player that I'm gonna put in it, and I'm gonna use my 8-track recorder, which I don't know, I hope it still works, and I'm gonna make new music and put it on 8-tracks and drive around with that. So just to kind of mix it all up a little.
Anachronistic. I love it.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of high lofty goals. It's just I'm a simple guy. So the answer to that question, I would probably say, going back to the Beach Boys, is Beach Boys' greatest hits. Just because,
like Endless Summer, or is
that's what I was gonna say. Endless Summer, only because again, driving around the car and having it, and also being able to use it for DJing, but also for my own pleasure. I'm always going right back to the Beach Boys. That's my favorite. I was kind of an anarchist with some of my friends who were the Beatles guys. So back then it was either Beatles or Dave Clark 5, and if you were a Beach Boys guy, you were kind of thrown to the curb. But I was always more Beach Boys than Beatles, and my friends would throw rocks at me for even saying that. But Beach Boys were always my thing.
You mentioned Dave Clark 5, and I always enjoyed them as well. But that was one of the most interesting tidbits that I realized and learned after Eddie Van Halen passed away, was that was his first huge favorite band, that he got into music entirely because of the Dave Clark 5. Like, I would never have guessed that in a million years.
Right. Good choice, though. People kind of forget them. Everybody thinks Beatles, Stones, and Beach Boys, but Dave Clark 5 was right up there. I mean, I remember all the teen magazines back then. Not that I bought those, and I don't have my collection of those. I just remember seeing those on the shelves and stuff, and it was always, oh, do you like the Dave or Paul Revere and the Raiders?
I'm more of a Who guy myself.
There you go. Oh, see, right there. That's one of my huge regrets, is not having seen the Who in concert.
Yeah, boy, I regret that as well. There, I love the Beatles. I love the Stones even more than the Beatles, and I think the Kinks would probably be up in there somewhere as well.
No, I mean, I'm right there with you. Ranking them, I would probably say, growing up, and then even now, I would say probably Who, Stones, Beatles, maybe Beach Boys, Who, Stones, with those groups. Yeah, I love the Who. Love the Who.
Yeah, Who's Next is probably my favorite album of all time.
Without question.
Yes. It's hard.
Yes.
Like, that's the closest thing there exists to a perfect album, in my opinion, right?
There you go.
And the thing, whenever anybody gives me grief about the Who, which isn't very often, but I say, look, they have the greatest studio album of all time. They've got the greatest live album of all time. And I think Tommy's the greatest concept album of all time. So it's like, it's the trifecta.
Yeah.
And they were like the best musicians. Like, you had the greatest drummer, the greatest bassist. Some would say Daltrey was one of the greatest rock vocalists ever. I mean, it's just
still is. I mean, if you look at some of the YouTube stuff that's out there now with him and Pete Townsend, like they like still cut it. They've got it. It's not the Who, obviously, when you see them, but they're still right there. So were you saying the Live at Leeds? Is that the one you like?
Live at Leeds,
without question,
just unbelievable.
Yep.
I mean,
tremendous.
Live album wise, I would say you've got Live at Leeds. You probably put Waiting for Columbus second by Little Feat.
Yeah, Little Feat.
Live at Budokan's up there. Mm-hmm. There's 3 or 4, but Live at Leeds is just kind of all onto itself.
There you go.
Normally I ask this question, Jim, but I feel like I already know the answer. So who has the largest vinyl collection among your friends and family? It's got to be you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, probably. I pared it down because it was getting ridiculous and all, but it's probably between 2,000 and 3,000. Well, like closer to like 2,800 kind of stuff.
When it was at its peak, what how big did it ever get?
8.
8?
So yeah.
Holy moly.
So you try to stuff that you either didn't listen to or is damaged or I know I'm never going to pick up or it doesn't, so try to kind of sell some of it off. And I had probably, again, because I started DJing this way, I probably had like 2,000 or 3,000 45s, which nobody wants to buy those. So I got a company to pick up about, I don't know how many boxes and boxes, like 14, 16 boxes of, I mean, they must have had 200 or 300 in each. They gave me a couple $100 for it. So I kind of purged those again too, but I still kept some of my favorites and, the picture discs or the picture sleeves that had some kind of meaning to me and all that. So in the back of my mind, it's like, I'm going to listen to all of these. I really am going to get to these someday and stuff. And I haven't, but I plan to, hopefully.
Have you ever thought about opening a record store? That seems like that would be perfect for you.
It's really hard to get rid of them, And again, not because I don't think I spend an exorbitant amount of money. I hate to say it like that, like, oh, I have all those vinyl, because you have these people that, oh, well, that's nothing, Jim. I have 60,000 million pieces of vinyl stuff, and I never did it for those purposes and everything. But I was lucky enough to work at 2 different record stores in, like I said, it wasn't even high school. I guess it was mid college and then afterwards. And the owners were pleased when I would take my paycheck home, which you don't get a lot. It was a part-time job while I was teaching during the day, but I would take it home in vinyl. And it's the old, hey Jim, look what just came in. It's like, thanks a lot, Mike. Yeah, give me one of those, put it behind the counter. And so that's the only reason why I have a pretty extensive collection, and a lot of it's stuff that I like. And I was fortunate that every so often you kind of pick up something that you didn't know, or that somebody would kind of turn you on to. It's like, hey, think about this band, and end up taking it. So I have some of that stuff in my collection, which I normally wouldn't have picked up, but it was just kind of interesting. And you get caught up in the moment, and I don't need those $8 and stuff. Throw it into the pile, sure. And you go home at the end of the night and you have a pile of records, and it's awesome. So that's the only reason why it's a big collection. They were fun jobs. They were really fun jobs.
Now, do you have either a current or an all-time favorite record store?
The 2 that I originally worked at, one is called Rainbow Records. That was in Salem, New Hampshire. And then friends of mine who I met opened another record store, and that closed. And actually, Mike passed away. He was one of the Beatle guys that he and I used to fight about Beatles, Beach Boys all the time. But then I started working another one. It was in town called Spin Out Records, because the guy was a big Elvis fan. And I was there for a number of years too. But Sean had mentioned Turn It Up, which was a really good store in Keene that unfortunately is shut down. It was in the basement of a renovated, beautiful theater right on Main Street that, your quintessential beautiful theaters that they completely refurbished and all that. That was this place. And underneath it were a couple kind of funky stores, and one was a record store. And he forgot to mention, or he probably didn't know, that they still have 3 more stores. That the one in Keene that we used to go to all the time, because Keene's like 20 minutes from where I live. He's further away in the other part of the state now. But they have 3 other stores. It's Turn It Up Records. There's one in Brattleboro, Vermont. There's one in Montague, which I don't even know where that is. It's a small town in central Massachusetts. And there's another one in Northampton, Massachusetts, which is a really cool, funky college town. Smith College is right there. Some really neat stuff going on Main Street. So this place fits perfectly for that. So a lot of vinyl, a lot of CDs / DVDs / they probably have VHS and 8-tracks and everything else. But it's a really, really, it was always a really cool place. I've been to the Northampton one, but I haven't been to the other 2. But if they were anything like the one that was in Keene, it's a real special place. And also, very strong online process and presence, especially with COVID, I imagine. So Turn It Up Records is our go-to with that. They were always really nice folks in there. So we were sad to see it go when it left Keene, but they knocked down 1 and kept 3, so they're still up in business.
So Jim, what have you heard recently, music wise, that's really tickling your fancy? Anything you want to share with us?
Yeah, actually, it's a friend of mine, but he's used to be in this band in the 80s called the Stompers. And unfortunately, I think sometimes got lost in the shuffle between when Springsteen, John Cafferty, Bob Seger, that whole, straight up rock in your face, very traditional rock, and kind of got lost in the shuffle. It had a couple really good national presence, Open for Giles, had a great recording contract with Boardwalk Records, and the next week they shut down. I mean, it's just like this a tragic story of this band that should have made it because they were so good. Fast forward, they're still playing reunion shows, and they sell out in 20 minutes because of the fans that are still up in this area that remember them all through college and all that. And they have their own very strong catalog of music and stuff. But the lead singer and main guy and writer and a guy named Sal Baglio started a new band, and the band that he's now going under is the Amplifier Heads. And his most recent, so he's got a couple of actually great CDs out there, and I think there's also some stuff on vinyl as well. But his most recent, which is getting a lot of critical acclaim around here, is a CD called Music for Abandoned Amusement Parks. It's so stark, and it's ghostly, and it's rocking, and it's thoughtful, and it's really cool stuff. Very, very, very different. I mean, anybody who knows the Stompers, it's like straight up rock and roll in your face, and everybody sings and raises their hands, and everything else goes crazy. This is not that, but it shows the strong writing skills that Sal has always had. So Music for Abandoned Amusement Parks by the Amplifier Heads. Highly, highly recommend that.
I have to give that a listen.
Yeah, it's good.
Thanks for the tip. I'm always looking for something new and haven't heard about before.
Let me know what you think about that too.
Yeah.
And I want to see your review on that and see if it's something that you think is going to be worth it.
Play one of their songs on the podcast. Well, Jim, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Folks, if you haven't heard You're Not Listening, you do need to listen, because you're not listening to You're Not Listening if you haven't heard their podcast yet.
I see what you did there. Well done.
Give my best to Sean. I hope he and the kids are doing well.
I will. We actually had some really good news. He and his lovely wife, Samantha, had a baby Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
Literally like 4 days ago.
Congrats.
So we just got back from meeting her today, as a matter of fact, because with COVID and everything else, we obviously couldn't go to the hospital and stuff, but we got a chance to drive out there today and meet Kinsey May, Kinsey, Kinsey.
And that's your third grandchild?
That's his third, and my daughter Katie has two. So, but we're done. I guess everybody tells us.
You got a basketball team.
We do. We got enough. we got a couple guards and and we have a pretty good center. She's tall and everything. So I think we're going to be fine with that stuff. So,
Jim, love talking with you.
Yeah, my pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much, Jim.
Okay, thank you. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye, lard ass.
Bend and Scoop is a production of Lukewarm Tallboy Studios.